The scene opens on a vibrant, magical forest with a rainbow arcing across the sky. So dreamy! A tiny, fluffy white fox with huge, pink eyes emerges from some flowers. How strange! It thinks, trotting along. The little fox dashes through the dense forest, but it's endless. There doesn't seem to be an end to this forest no matter how much I run. It hops over a tree root. What a mystifying place. Everything fades to white as the fox seems to pass through some kind of barrier. It seems, I must truly be. Suddenly, we're in a completely different world. Ionel the Rohim stands by a window, gazing at the moonlit night. The Rohim Empire, where she's an imperial princess, sprawls beneath her. But her chances of succeeding the throne were low. Even though her father, the emperor, showered her with love, there was one sentence he always repeated. Oh, Ionel, if only you were born a boy! But Ionel had no desire for the throne anyway. Why, you ask? She drops a small, ornate crown. It clatters down the stairs. Agries, her older brother, picks it up with a smile. Ionel smiles, saying, Oh, it's Agries! Ionel rushes to him. Because the throne would go to Agries, her gentle and kind big brother. With a family that loved her, she was as happy as she could be. But then, nightmare fuel. It's night. She shouts, Father! A man stands over her father's body in the forest. His hand is covered in blood. Before her was a cloak dripping with blood. Ionel stumbles upon the gruesome scene. A dagger plunged deep into her father's chest, and then she turned to Agries, wondering what had happened. It was his face, but not one she had ever seen. Agries clenches his hand around the blood-soaked glove. He asks, Ionel, what are you doing here? To Ionel everything felt like a nightmare, a lie. He raises the dagger. Ionel watches in horror, frozen. Agries wipes the blade, a cold look on his face. I suppose it works out for the best. Now father will have you to keep him company. Ionel asks, What? He swings the sword. Ionel's limp body lies against her father's. In her mind she thinks, Agries, my kind and gentle big brother. She tries to move, making a rustling sound. He looks down at her. She gasps, trembling and covered in blood. Agries. She reaches for him, hand dripping crimson, barely able to speak. Agries recoils. Disgusting. Her mind went blank seeing her brother, Terran eyes. Everything fades to black, then with musical notes swirling around she opens her eyes. Ionel, surrounded by those notes, is floating in some kind of watery void. Where am I? I can't see anything. Am I dead? Is the afterlife supposed to be like this? Why do I feel like I'm trapped in something? She reaches out and touches a surface. Crack! The surface shatters. She gets shocked to see the scene ahead. Ha! Ha! Suddenly, sunlight floods in as two figures look down at her through the broken barrier. The white-haired person says, looking down at her, She's finally awake. She wonders, What the? Who are those people? A fluffy white tail sways into view. She quickly grabs it and gets surprised. Huh? One of the figures says. Maybe she can't recognize us in our human forms. Let's show her our true forms. She stares at her paw. Why is my hand all fluffy like a kitten's paw? Just then the red-haired woman says, Oh, Lanner. The person turns into a big fox and touches her paw. She wonders, Is that a fox paw? The two figures are revealed as massive, divine beasts. Seeing that she squealed. She thinks, Huh! Did I just bark? The woman with red hair says to the big fox, You scared her. The fox transformed again to the white-haired man and caresses her hand. So Ionel concludes, Don't tell me. I've died and become Ionel the Rohim, princess of the Rohim Empire. She has been reborn as a divine beast. Meanwhile, back in the kingdom, whispers and murmurs fill the palace. The captain Phelan asks, What is it? Why does everyone seem so unsettled? Another guard replies, Captain, the Emperor was murdered in the dead of night. But they're saying Princess Ionel was the one who did it. His eyes flash a dangerous red. He recalled a scene outside. Phelan stands with Ionel. She says, Have you given your future any thought, Sir Phelan? She looks up at him sweetly. I have no doubt that someone as outstanding as you will become a renowned hero across the Empire. She smiles brightly at Phelan. His heart beats heavily. Now he stands alone, looking out from a balcony, questioning himself. What? And thus, The story of the baby divine beast begins. Later, Lanner's out for a stroll, searching for his little fox. Now, where might my little pup be hiding? A rustle in the flowers gives her away. He grins, knowing just where to look. Lusha. Sure enough, there she is, curled up amongst the wildflowers. Those ears perk right up at the sound of his voice. You're hiding by the wildflowers again, huh? We should go back. Mommy's waiting. He gently scoops her up for some boops. The little divine beast thinks to herself, as Lanner cradles her. It's already been a month since I was reborn. This man is Lanner. He's my new dad. At first, Lusha couldn't accept her new reality. It had to be a dream. But now a whole month has passed, and she has no choice but to accept it. She whines thinking, it's so hard to wrap my head around it. I'm a divine beast. It just doesn't make any sense. A long time ago, divine beasts were born from the broken fragments of the god of this land. The golden lion, the silver fox, the indigo whale, the crimson wolf, the ivory falcon, and the emerald snake. The divine beasts who inherited the god's powers communicated with nature. They ruled over the spirits, and watched over the earth, sky, rivers, and seas. Then one day, the great calamity struck. The divine beasts combined their strength and succeeded in protecting the lands, but they hid themselves from the world thereafter. Lusha thinks, who would have thought they'd be nowhere to be found because they retired into the forest of divine beasts? Where are we now? Lusha wonders, as she's carried across the land. It took her all day to get to that meadow, but Lanner practically flies across the terrain. She snuggles into his arms and thinks, no matter where I hide, they always manage to find me. Though they let me roam around freely, I feel like they're being overprotective. Apparently, her egg wasn't even half as big as the other eggs, not to mention it took 10 whole years for her to hatch. Though the divine beasts lost their power to control the spirits after the great calamity, they retained their godly powers and can use them from birth. Of course, they can also freely take on the form of a human. If one has a talent for swordsmanship or magic, they are able to use their divine powers for those purposes as well. But in contrast, Lusha remembers her past life as a human. Perhaps that's why she can't change her form or speak. She got a flashback to Agres and her previous life. Agres, he's the one who took everything from her. She wonders, why did you kill me and father? According to the laws of the empire, the princess cannot rule. There was no question that the throne would eventually go to you. Even now, she wants more than anything to ask him why he did such a thing. But as she is now, she can't even speak to him, let alone find him. Lanner pets her gently. Oh, little one, are you upset that I interrupted your conquest of the north? Did Daddy ruin your fun? Lusha says internally. You're not even close. Lanner carries her into a cave, where Syria is waiting. As Lanner went inside, he calls out, Syria! Syria uses her magic, and the cave transforms into a crystal cavern. As he went close to her, Syria asks, Is Lusha asleep? He replies, No, but I bet she's tired. She went all the way to the northern border. Syria reaches for her. Give me my daughter. But instead Lanner does a family hug. Syria tries to speak. You. But Lanner just giggles. Later, they receive a letter. Syria says, Received a letter. Please read it. Lanner holds the letter and says, Are you going to keep being so formal with me? We even have Lusha now. You could afford to be a little less polite. Syria replies, It is not so simple for me. Lanner rips open the letter saying, Anyone who didn't know better would think I'm still your superior. Lanner reads the letter then says, Well, this is rather troubling. It seems Rohim will have a new ruler. The emperor's been murdered. They say the culprit was Princess Ionel de Rohim. The letter bursts into flames as the shocking news sinks in. She killed her father before committing suicide. Lusha is stunned, her eyes flashing blue. She thinks, Agres must be behind this. She recalled the scene Agres, standing over the bodies of her and her father. He killed us both and pinned the whole thing on me. Also, he would have an unquestionable justification for his abrupt succession to the throne. Lusha lets out a whimper in Syria's arms. Yip, Lusha? Syria's face fills with concern. Lusha starts barking and crying, her eyes full of tear. Lusha? What's wrong? Syria is flustered. Lusha can't take it anymore and cries inwardly. Agres, you've out-cretin! Lusha is wailing her eyes out. Syria tries to coax her with a plate of yummy fruit. Look here, Lusha! Saya. But Lusha is having none of it. I don't want it! She cries. Syria watches, concerned. She doesn't look hurt, Lana observes, as Lusha continues to sob. He says, it doesn't seem like she's hungry either. The crying is getting intense, Lana thinks. She's crying so hard. At this rate, she's going to wear herself out. Syria reaches out, gently calling her name. Lusha. She wipes away her tears. Sure, little one. Syria takes Lusha into her arms, comforting her. It's okay. You're all right. She pats her gently, saying, that's a good girl. But Lusha is still feeling the injustice of it all. It's not fair, she thinks, utterly devastated. I'm so mad. Lusha whines, still clinging to Syria. She vows, I will reveal the truth, no matter how long it takes. I will bring the truth to light. Later, as Lana and Syria sleep, nestled together in bed with Lusha between them, Lusha wakes up. I must have cried myself to sleep yesterday, she thinks, but after all that, she feels a bit more clear-headed. She stretches, determined. I must get to the Rohim Empire as soon as possible. She reflects on her limitations. The more time passes, the harder it will be to prove the truth. But I can't leave the forest by myself. If only I could speak. This would be so much simpler. What should I do? An idea strikes her. For now, I should at least practice speaking. She clears her throat, preparing. Focus. Be loud and clear. I am. She thinks confidently, and then blurts out. Arf. Unfortunately, reality is merciless, even with resolve. Just then Lana and Syria wakes up. Lana chuckles. You seem to have perked up, little one. All that crying must have worked up an appetite. Are you ready to eat? Lusha happily accepts a piece of fruit. Lana steps away, announcing, Syria, I'm going to drop by the human realm. Saying that, he snaps his finger, and rings of magic appears around his finger. Lusha gets surprised. The human realm? She jolts. Lana changes to a noble attire and continues. Vernon will barge in here if I wait any longer. I should visit the imperial family as well, while I'm there. After all, it's my duty as the Silver Fox to watch over these lands, if only in name. Syria remarks, it must be a mess right now, with 2 members of the imperial family dead. Lana agrees, I've no doubt. Lusha perks up, overhearing this. She jumps from her place, so Syria asks, Are you full already, Lusha? Lusha hops down, determined to follow Lana. She went and hops to Lana's leg. She thinks, this is the perfect opportunity. If I can get to Rohim and wander the streets, I'll be able to hear the rumors that are going around about the imperial family. Lana turns to her. Lusha, do you perhaps want to come with me? Lusha, practically vibrating with excitement, can only manage a happy arf. She clings to Lana's robes, saying inwardly, Bring me with you. I'll use every card I have up my sleeve if I have to. Syria is not convinced. No, she says firmly. Lusha, the human realm is dangerous. I can't just let you go without making sure you're prepared. You can go with Mommy next time, when you're nice and prepared. Lusha deflates, but she quickly turns to Lana, thinking, in that case, it's time for my next move. Lusha starts to tear up again. Puppy dog eyes are being activated. Won't she be safe if she sticks with me? Lana asks. Syria retorts, Lana, Lusha hasn't even had her ritual of birth yet. Lana replies, the other divine beast coming to see her can hardly be called a ritual. Lana steps closer to Syria, bumping her gently. Don't worry, Syria. Lusha's safety is as certain as your trust in me. If you trust me, what reason could there be to keep her from the outside world? Besides, she really wants to go. Syria pouts, saying, Whatever. Lana grins. Lusha, do you want to come with Daddy to see the human realm? Arf! Lusha exclaims, overjoyed. The world of humans is filled with fascinating things, after all. And so Lana sets off with Lusha in his arms. Syria says, when packing supplies, I'll come find you after I finish preparing for your ritual of birth. Until then, here's your favorite blankie, fruits, snacks. She completely wraps her up. As they walk, Lana says, Lusha, there's something you should know before we cross over to the human realm. Us divine beasts have 3 rules we must observe. First, do not interfere in human affairs. Second, do not let the humans know you are a divine beast. Third, do not fall in love with a human. If you are found to have broken any of these rules, you will be judged before the Council of Elders and sealed in the Forest of Divine Beasts. They might sound like silly rules, but pretending to care about them will make things less bothersome for you down the road. Understand? Arf, Lusha confirms. Ah, we're here, Lanner announces. Pointing ahead, he says, that is our home in the human realm. Lusha looks up, tilting her head. Huh! She recognizes the flag. I know that flag. A bright sky over snow-covered evergreen trees. A guard standing watch on the castle wall suddenly notices them. He scrambles off the wall to raise the alarm. Ding! Dong! The bell tolls, and Lusha perks up in Lana's arms. The castle gates creak open with a boom, and a flurry of activity erupts as soldiers swarm to greet their returning Grand Duke. Lusha gets shocked by their swarm. Grand Duke Elharan! The soldiers shout. Welcome home, Your Grace! Lana Karl Elharan was notorious for his absences from high society gatherings. Even the Emperor couldn't get him to show his face. As such, very few people actually knew what he was like. However, no one looked down on him. He ruled the perilous Idelbadour Mountains and the ice wall of the north. As the top swordsman on the continent, his skills transcended human ability, and he protected the Rohim Empire from the barbarians. By preventing them from crossing the northern borders only served to support this rumor. The Grand Duke was surrounded by many other rumors besides that one. There was even talk of him being an ice-cold killer who enjoyed a good bloodbath. Some said he was merely a frail old man, while others claimed he was the most attractive man in the world. However, no one knew if any of their rumors were true, as so few have ever laid eyes on him. Till this very day, he is only really known as a man who is shrouded in mystery. Lusha thinks, now I understand why the rumor about the Grand Duke's castle being empty always circulated. Lusha realizes. It's because he's a divine beast. Inside, Aiden, the butler, greets Elharan politely. It's wonderful to see you home, Your Grace. But Elharan simply replies, Aiden. Aiden quickly guided him to the mountains of work piled up. However, you really must get to work, Lana muses. That was one short greeting. Can't we at least have a welcoming feast first? But Aiden is having none of it. He pushes Elharan and firmly states, no. Then he slams the door. Moments later inside, Lusha taps on a document, and Elharan asks, did anything of note happen while I was gone? Aiden replies, the barbarians have crossed the ice wall. The room went silent for a moment. Elharan's eyes narrow, and he says darkly, those vermin are almost asking for it. Lusha flinches, sensing the shift in Elharan's demeanor. Realizing Lusha is present, he realized and quickly softens. Oh dear. Elharan lifts Lusha into the air. Up we go, he says playfully. Aiden asks, do you plan to go on the offensive? Elharan replies, later. Smiling tenderly at Lusha, Elharan says, give us a moment, will you? He takes Lusha to his bedroom and kneels down beside the bed. Lusha, were you frightened? Lusha says to herself. Of course. How could I not be? I didn't even know he could make that face. She thinks, he is usually so tender and playful. That expression was entirely new to me. But even then, Lusha thinks, stepping onto the bed. That doesn't change the fact that Grand Duke Elharan is my dad. She nuzzles him affectionately. He sniffles. Ah, it's such a shame that I can't show you off anywhere. Then he says, why don't you stay here and nap for a bit? Daddy needs to work. Lusha, with an adorable arf, buys him. But when the door closes, she slumps onto the bed. What a hectic day. But suddenly, she heard a sound and perks up wondering. Ha! A strange blue light envelopes the room, making Lusha jolt. She wonders, what is that? From inside the blue a man suddenly appears, his hand glowing with blue energy. That necklace. She recognizes it instantly. He's a rune-hilt mage. Lusha gets terrified. What's a rune-hilt mage doing here? He glances around and was about to leave but stops seeing Lusha flinch. He strides towards Lusha, who flinches in fear. Lusha's eyes widen in horror. What? Why is he coming here? The mage grabs Lusha. What is this good-for-nothing mop? He says coldly. Lusha dangles upside down, and the mage's eyes are like ice. What's with that face? Yip! Lusha squeaks, realizing. Why does he look more annoyed than me? I'm the one who's being dangled upside down here, he says with disdain. What's with this little fur ball? How pathetic. You're too tiny. You're totally useless. She struggles in his grasp. What the heck? You can't just teleport in here and say all that to me. I'm still a pup. Suddenly she growls. The mage just stares blankly at the feisty little creature. He frowns at her, but she got flushed with embarrassment. How embarrassing! Meanwhile, a few moments ago, Elharan in his office asks Aiden. The barbarians crossed over the ice wall, you said? Aiden replies. While you were away, Lord Vernon watched over the ice cliff, but the barbarians launched an ambush right after you left. The battle left 20 injured and caused some damage to the village. We've yet to find out why, but the barbarians have been more active this past month. Elharan taps his fingers thoughtfully. That's around the time Lusha was born. Aiden asks, the one you were carrying earlier? He smiles, holding up a tiny pouch. Yes. Her name is Linstella. Lusha is just an adorable nickname. You will be serving her as well. The butler can't help but think how fluffy, soft, and silky she must be, he says. It is a lovely name, Your Grace. Elharan is beaming with pride. Isn't it? He turns serious again. Has there been any word from the imperial family? The butler raises 3 letters. The 3rd letter just arrived. Elharan smirks. Impatient, aren't we? How interesting. Aiden says, shouldn't you make a decision fast, Your Grace? He pauses, considering. I suppose, but first, it seems I need to go teach someone a lesson. He turns towards the surge of energy he just sensed. The mage brought Lusha with himself and presents Lusha with a plate of fruit. Here, eat up. Moments ago he was being surrounded by his subordinates, shouting and yelling. Master Vernon, you mustn't! The baby fox is not for experimenting. And the food, it's not for eating either. What if Rohim hears of this? But Vernon slams the door shut and sighs, finally getting some peace and quiet. Lusha eyes the library. There are more books here than the library in the Imperial Palace. Is this the magic tower? Those people also looked like rune-hilt mages. Vernon stares at her. Come on, furball. Eat. Lusha thinks, I should eat first and think about it later. But she notices something strange. That fruit only grows in the forest of divine beasts? Why is it here? Do the mages grow them? The rune-hilt mages are really something else. Vernon sighs, slicing a fruit, and says, Small, stupid, and pitiful. Lusha growls, I'll let it slide since he gave me food. Just then someone knocks the door and announces, Master Vernon, some guests from Rohim are here to see you. Vernon replies, Tell them I'm busy. Saying that he wipes Lusha's face. The mage continues, They say they don't plan on leaving until they meet with the Master of the Magic Tower. Lusha wonders, The Master of the Magic Tower? Him? Really? Vernon asks, What's their business with me? The mages from outside the room replies, They wish to uncover the truth behind the late Emperor's passing. Lusha thinks in her mind, the truth behind the Emperor's death. Agres, the Crown Prince, killed our father and hid all the evidence, so that his succession to the throne would not be contested, and for the sake of concealing his crimes, he killed me, his sister, and framed me for everything. Now, rather than the princess of the Rohim Empire, I'm a wretch who killed her own father. Lusha yanks at Vernon's sleeve. But these people want to uncover the truth. That means there are people who don't believe the princess was the culprit. Lusha wages her tale. Vernon looks at her. What? Speak if you want to say something. Lusha, now standing on her hind legs, gets excited and barks. I want to meet them too. Vernon deadpans. Don't tell me. You haven't had enough even after eating so much? Lusha squeals down in shock. Vernon floats fruit with his magic. At least your appetite is as good as a divine beast. Lusha says to herself, You're barking up the wrong tree. She chomps on his finger. He gets confused looking at her. Vernon retorts. Just then the mage asks, Master Vernon, what should I say to them? Vernon sighs. I'll go meet them. You stay here and be good, furball. But Lusha won't be left behind. She cries out, And oh, take me with you. But the door slams close. She slumps against the door, dejected. Then she thinks, at least it's not completely hopeless. There are people who believe I've been framed. Ionel is innocent. Even if I only have one person on my side, I can bring the truth to light. I can make it happen. She barks happily, determined to prove her innocence. Meanwhile, as Vernon opens the door, the sound of door opening echoes as a group of men in formal attire seated around a table. Suddenly, a clamor erupts, and the men jolt in surprise. Vernon enters the room, looking rather unamused. Why did they insist on waiting if they thought I wouldn't see them? The men bow, one of them stating, "We appreciate you agreeing to meet us, Master Vernon." Vernon wastes no time and cuts him off. "I'm sure you do." One of the men tries to introduce himself. "I am Viscount Melviertz," but Vernon interrupts again. "Hold it right there. You do not expose your personal details here. Or did you not know that the Rune-Hilt Magic Tower is an independent entity free from all nations and titles? Declaring who you are has no leverage here." The noble gets clearly annoyed, but Vernon pays no mind and says, "Now stop wasting my time and get to the point." The men reveal a portrait of the late emperor and his daughter. "We wish to expose the truth behind the late emperor's death." Vernon leans back, unimpressed. "Is there any truth left to expose? The honor of the imperial family has hit rock bottom. It's been concluded that the princess had lost her mind and murdered her father in a fit of..." One of the men bursts out, "Her Highness would never do such a thing. That story is a complete fabrication." Vernon glares, and the man flinches. "What I mean is, we implore you dispatch one of your mages to clear the princess's name." Vernon rises. "No." The men plead with him to reconsider. Vernon scoffs. "Did you think you'd be able to borrow the name of Rune-Hilt so easily? The least you could do is offer a price, or at least a suitable collateral." He steps away saying that. The men clench their fists, desperate. "As collateral, we offer you Sir Phelan Avalod's name." Vernon halts, his expression shifting. "That guy would put his own name on the line for this," he says. "You dare stake the name of the captain of the Knights Templar so impulsively? Will you be able to take responsibility for those words?" The men are startled. "Sir Phelan himself said you would agree to our request if we offered up his name as collateral." Vernon clicks his tongue. That brat actually thought this through, huh? Then he says, "In that case, I will send my most capable mage with you." In the other room, Lusha looks down from the window and thinks, "This must truly be the magic tower. If I fell from this height, I would really be nothing but a ball of fur." Just then Vernon calls her, "Furball." Suddenly, magic wraps around her, yanking her back. Vernon scolds, "Are you mad? There'd be nothing left of you if you fell." The little Lusha is dangling precariously. "This feels far more dangerous." Vernon flicks his fingers and says, "You're so troublesome for such a small thing." He uses his magic. "All right, let's get you back to your dad." With a shwoom, they were enveloped in magical energy. Just as she opens her eyes again, she saw a sword to Vernon's neck. Her eyes widen. "Gah!" Elharan calls out. "Vernon, you should have given me a heads up if you were going to take your sister with you. You gave your father a fright." Vernon retorts, "What, can a big brother show his little sister around?" Lusha gets shocked. "Big brother?" She thinks, "Come to think of it, I do see the resemblance. He's a perfect mix of them both." Her father chides, "If you'd come any later, I may have had to destroy the tower." Vernon is not amused. "The magic tower is not a toy, father." Lusha remarks, "He has more of his father's temperament, though." Elharan shrugs, sheathing his sword. "My son's tower certainly wouldn't be, no." He leans in close to the Lusha and whispers, "Little one, you can tell Daddy. Did he do anything to you?" Lusha recalls. "I suppose he did, but ultimately he fed me some fruit and returned me unharmed. Not to mention, he pulled me away from the tower's edge." Vernon replies, "I just gave her some fruit, is all." Elharan holds her close in his arms and asks, "Is that right?" Lusha just nods. Vernon then asks, "Was that furball the reason you left the castle deserted this whole time, without even a word?" Elharan gasps in mock horror. "Vernon, you're lucky your mother didn't hear that." Lusha barks in agreement. Vernon's heart skips a beat. He says, "You might as well have just waited for another emperor to die before coming back." Elharan handed her to Aiden and says, "I'll be right back." Then Elharan turns to Vernon and smiles. "I know, right?" A soldier brought a horse while Elharan says, "This isn't the best place to talk." He gets on the horse and says, "What do you say we continue our conversation on the battlefield?" Vernon blinks, confused. Night falls over the castle, and Vernon sits, deep in thought, sighing heavily. What happened to him out there? Meanwhile Elharan holds Lusha saying, My baby seems to have lost weight since I last saw you." Later Vernon was layering the jam on bread and grumbles, My own father is exploiting me for labor. He takes a bite of the jam sandwich. While Elharan was feeding Lusha, he says, "Consider it repayment for me renovating the tower." That sets him off. Vernon slams his fist on the table. "What? I paid you back for that already." Across the table, Vernon's father smirks and says, "Not the interest," he says, all smug about it. Vernon is so done with this. His father adds insult to injury. "You only have yourself to blame for borrowing from me." And then, Elharan whispers to Lusha, "Lusha, go make him feel better, will you?" Talk about emotional manipulation. Vernon, looking gloomier than ever, can only watch as Lusha sneaks towards him. "Quit your moping and greet your sister properly. I don't believe you've been properly introduced," his father commands. Vernon shoots Lusha a wary glance. As Lusha gets near him, Elharan adds, "This is your sister, Stella. We call her Lusha." Vernon reaches out and gently holds Lusha's tiny paw. "I'm Vernon," he says quietly, shaking her paw. The cute little Lusha barks happily. "Arf," she thinks. "I found him rude and frightening at first, but his actions are not as cold as his words. Though he might grumble the whole time, when it comes down to it, he'll do everything for you." Vernon then asks his father, There was something I wanted to ask. Have you heard anything regarding Phelan?" Elharan asks. "Phelan of Elod?" Lusha also gets interested hearing Phelan's name. Phelan of Elod, he had no status, no wealth, no sponsors who supported him. He joined the Imperial Guard solely through his skills as a swordsman. Though he had a rough start, in merely 3 months, there wasn't a soul in the palace who didn't know his name, and for good reason. Lusha recalls a memory, where Phelan had said, kneeling before Princess Ionel, "Greetings, Your Highness, my name is Phelan of Elod. I'm to be your personal guard from now on." Phelan was the last one left standing in a tournament among the Imperial Knights who were of great renown. He barely even broke a sweat. The Emperor lauded him and made him the personal guard of not the Crown Prince, but the Princess. Not because he lacked the ability to be the captain of the Imperial Guard, but simply because the Emperor treasured his daughter so. Though Sir Phelan was objectively an excellent guard, he was nothing more than that to Ionel. However, that didn't stop Ionel from trying to approach him time and again. "Sir Phelan," she'd say, trying to strike up a conversation, "I received some delicious chocolate recently. Would you like to enjoy them with me?" Phelan would simply reply, "Please do not mind me, Your Highness." And with that, he'd turn and walk away. Ionel tried her best to be friendly to her overqualified guard, but her efforts were in vain. The distance between the two remained as wide as ever. Though they shared the same space and breathed the same air, she never felt like they were ever really together. She couldn't trust him. And the same could be said for Phelan. At one instance Phelan had said to Princess Ionel, "I'm needed on the southern front. I require your permission to go, Your Highness." A brutal war had broken out in the south. Him asking for her permission to be dispatched there was his way of resigning as her personal guard. For Ionel, it was not entirely unexpected, though she clenched her fist tightly. "Do as you will," she said, barely masking her disappointment. Their awkward relationship that barely lasted a year ended in futility. After that, Sir Phelan accomplished much in the War of the South, leading the army to victory. He became known as the strongest knight in the Rohim Empire. He caught the eye of the Pope who had attended the ceasefire negotiations, and was later named the captain of the Knights Templar. Thereafter, Ionel would hear news of him every now and then, but never again did she see his face. Back in the present, Elharan asks, "Phelan? What of him?" Vernon continues, "Some knights visited me and said they wished to prove the innocence of the late princess. They'd put up Phelan's name as collateral." Elharan gets intrigued. "Oh." Lusha gets shocked. "What? Why him?" Lusha thinks, "I'm nothing to him. He was just forced to serve me for a year." Elharan muses, "I do remember hearing talk of him in the forest. They say, he's lost his mind." Lusha gets stunned. "What?" Upon hearing that, Lusha gets stunned. "Phelan's gone mad?" Elharan remarks, "After hearing what you just said, there seems to be some truth to that rumor. He knows what it means to stake his own name." Vernon sighs. "He's clearly not in his right mind." Lusha glances between them, thinking, "But are these two close with Phelan? They don't even call him by his title." Elharan asks of Vernon, "Have you heard from him?" He replies, "I plan to meet him soon." But little Lusha can only think. I can't even ask them since I can't talk. She drooped down, will. Seeing that, Vernon pats her head and says, By the way, are you sure it's all right to bring her to the human world already? She can't be more than a week old. Elharan stands and says, She's a month old. Vernon gets shocked upon hearing that. Lusha, noticing this, thinks, I know I was born smaller than average, but am I so small as to warrant concern? Elharan steps forward with a gentle smile, while Vernon looks at her with concern. Lusha notices that and thinks, his expression. Elharan strokes her head, saying, We can only love her for how she is. I'm sure she'll grow eventually, with enough food. Just then Vernon offers her more and says, Here, eat some more. Then, changing the subject, Elharan announces, Anyway, I will be heading to the capital, Vernon. Vernon retorts, You're leaving the castle empty again? Elharan then holds Lusha on his shoulder and adds, The Crown Prince wants me to show my face. Vernon rises up from his seat and declares, I'm coming with you. Elharan asks, You are? Vernon replies, I told Phelan's men I would send my most capable mage. Besides, is there any mage out there that can surpass the master of the magic tower himself? A week passes before their departure for the Imperial Palace. In the meantime, Lana promises to tackle the overdue work at the castle. He exclaims, This must be a joke, Aiden. Aiden responds, I would never be so rude as to pull such a prank on you, Your Grace. These are all the documents that have accumulated over the time you've been away from the castle. They require your approval. Elharan sighs. Lusha, lend me a paw, will you? Aiden stares at her unamused. Then he says, The color of her fur seems rather uncommon. Elharan replies, Right? I've never seen any divine beast with this shade either. Suddenly, realization dawns on Lusha. Hold on. Aiden's a human. Didn't you say we can't tell humans about us? Noticing her panic, her father laughs. Aiden is fine. He belongs in the boundary. He laughs and adds, Now, what that means is... But Aiden cuts him off. Please get to work, Your Grace. Elharan muses. Would you look at that? The head butler actually interrupted the great Grand Duke, but Aiden just stares at him. Geez, okay. Lana relents, picking up his pen and then started scribbling. Lusha glances up at Aiden, thinking, He belongs to the boundary? What does that mean? I'm curious, but I guess I can't ask right now. I'll only distract him. And so they work, she thinks. In any case, it seems like it isn't a problem. 7 hours later, the work continues. 9 hours later, the work continues. Lusha can't take it anymore. I'm so bored, she thinks, squirming in Lana's lap. They haven't said a word for hours. They've just been working this whole time. How much longer will this take? I can't feel my paws, Lusha thinks, wriggling. Finally, Elharan notices. Are you bored, little pup? He asks, nuzzling her. She barfs. Oh, would a stroll around the castle perk you up? Elharan asks. Lusha's eyes light up. I can explore the mysterious Elharan castle? As she hops off, Elharan cautions. Don't go too far, okay? Lusha hops off the desk, ready for adventure. Be careful, Lady Lusha, Aiden adds. Lusha, now free to roam, barks happily. Arf! Meanwhile, in the hallway of the princess's palace, Agris was walking thinking. The princess's palace was built right next to the imperial palace. Their previous owners are no more. It's only been a month since I last visited them both through this hallway. Then he states to his guards, I'll go alone. His guards complies. He looks towards the garden and thinks, how tranquil. It's so peaceful that what happened merely a month ago feels utterly inconceivable. He walks ahead towards a room King. The nobles insisted that the princess's palace be demolished, claiming we shouldn't leave the palace of a murderer standing. However, just then woman's voice calls out, Oh, Your Highness. She greets him. I suppose your council meeting went well. I stopped by after hearing everything was ready. I'm delighted that things are progressing so quickly. She grabs onto his arm and continues, I'm to stay here from tomorrow, but I never knew how beautiful and well lit that girl's palace was. Are you sure she deserved all this? She pauses, then says, Well, I suppose her dying evens things out. She smiles wickedly, covering her mouth. Hee. Ha! Now, all this belongs to me, she declares, twirling in a beautiful gown. The crown princess. Later the cooks apologize for the wait, offering Lusha a freshly baked pie and cookies. How about some cookies? One of them asks sweetly. Another chimes in. Have some milk too, to help them go down. But Lusha is a little confused. How did she even get here? Few moments ago, when Lusha sets off on his adventure of exploring, she is warned to not wander too far. Aiden says, Be careful, Lady Lusha. But Lusha, in her furry glory, bounces off to explore the castle. While wandering, she catches a delightful scent, following the delicious smell. It leads her right to the kitchen where everyone is baking. Seeing them, she thinks, they're baking since it's past dinner time. She realizes, catching whiffs of bread, apples, and cinnamon. This has to be. Suddenly someone crazes into her and shouts, Chef? Is something the matter? A cook asks. Another one asks, seeing Lusha. Huh! What's a fox doing in here? Just then someone remembers. Wait, isn't that Fox? The Grand Duke holding her says. I love her like a daughter. I expect you to treat her as such. It hits the kitchen staff like a ton of bricks. It's the Grand Duke's treasured fox daughter. Back to the present. Lusha is devouring everything offered, thinking, I could eat the whole thing, even though I'm not even hungry. Just then she heard a melody and perks up at the familiar melody. I know that melody, but from where? Suddenly, disaster strikes. Someone bumps into the chef who is carrying a container of gravy. Another shouts, watch out! Soup goes flying, splashing all over Lusha. She realizes, the chef panics. Little fox. Just then with the melody a bright light appeared blinding everyone, and it protects Lusha from the disaster that was about to unfold. With the strong wind, the kitchen staff goes flying. Lusha gets bewildered. The container fell down. Oh my goodness! A cook cries. Where did that wind come from? Another exclaims. I thought it was going to fall on her. My heart almost stopped. I'm so sorry, little fox. One of them stammers. She pats his swollen head. Lusha is confused. What was that? Did I use my divine powers? She wonders. No, there's no way I managed that when I can't even turn into my human form. She watches out from the window and thinks, it was certainly a power of some kind. But what? 1 week later, Lusha sneakily watches Elharan and Vernon ready to leave for the Imperial Palace. Today is the day. They leave for the Imperial Palace, Lusha realizes. But it looks like they're planning to go without me, and decides to cling to Lana's cloak. Vernon notices, chuckling. Are you taking Lusha with you? She complains, Hey, is there no honor in this divine beast family? Well, I can't just leave her alone in the castle, can I? Lana replies, making Lusha's heart sore. Dad's the best, Vernon sighs. She's bound to get fleas wandering around the capital. Elharan holds Lusha up and says, That's where your skills come in, master of the magic tower. Vernon sighs and with a glow, he uses his magic. Lusha floats in the air, then a flashing light engulfs her. As she opens her eyes, Vernon says, I knew it. Her growth is so slow that I could only change her into a baby. As she rubs her eyes, he adds, She'll revert to her original form when the mana I put in her disperses. Lusha, as a baby, is stunned. Did he turn me into a human? Her heart raced as she tries to speak. And then she says, Badabi? Lana is overjoyed and gasps, She just said daddy. Vernon points. Where was the D? She clearly said brother. Cracks appears as both of them fights over what she had said. I'm a baby. That's what she said, Lana says. I've been with her from the beginning. It's only natural that she'd call me first. Vernon counters, That's just your own opinion. You haven't considered Furball's feelings on this matter. Lusha is frustrated. I'm a human and yet, it's not fair, she cries. I still can't speak a single word, she wails. Dibba. Lana insists. This time was unmistakably daddy. Vernon argues. It sounded much more like brother to me. Lusha is fed up, screaming internally. You're both wrong. Where's the spell for letting me talk? Debadaboo. The Imperial Palace shines under a bright blue sky. White doves circle above the towers. 2 figures walk in the hallway of the grand building. It's the Grand Duke, carrying baby Lusha. Behind him walks Vernon. Lusha glances around and thinks, It's barely been a month, but the place I've called home all my life feels so foreign now. Vernon speaks up, questioning the Lana's actions. Did you go out of your way to bring her here for all to see, because you intend to make her the future Grand Duchess? The Grand Duke gives a small shrug. his smile widening. Naturally, he looks lovingly at Lusha. Our little one is special. Divine beasts. They are naturally independent, leaving their parents' side to manage their own territories or explore the human realm. But Lusha? She's different. Only a month old, her rate of growth is abnormally slow. If she lacks the power to protect herself, she'll need the shield that is House Elharan. Back in the present, a soldier informs the Grand Duke that His Highness has requested to see him in the audience chamber. The Grand Duke glances back at Vernon. I'll be back. You watch her while I'm gone. Vernon accepts. Yes, Your Grace. But Lusha clearly doesn't want her that. What? I made it all this way just to be stopped now. Lusha thrashes and wails. Wah! Bababa! No! Take me with you! Vernon leans in, looking down at the crying baby. He whispers to her, Be good, or I'll turn you into a real furball. Lusha, suddenly terrified, stops crying immediately. MMPH. Elharan muses. How adorable. The Grand Duke whispers. Daddy will be right back. He waves goodbye as he walks away, leaving Vernon and Lusha behind. Vernon, holding the baby, asks, Can we take a walk in the gardens? A nearby maid answers, Of course. Let me show you the way. As they walk, Lusha thinks to herself, But I've come all this way. I assumed I'd definitely get to see the Crown Prince. I had already mentally prepared myself. She internally laments. Why do these divine beasts always leave me out at the most crucial moments? The maid gestures. The public garden is this way. Vernon replies. We'll take it from here, thank you. He turns and heads in a different direction, away from the maid. Vernon picks a rose from the garden. Look at this flower, my lady. This rose grows almost everywhere, except up north. Is it your first time seeing one? Lusha just humps at the flower. He glances around, seeing that no one is around. Shall we go see something else? Vernon asks, veering off the path. He quickly hides at a corner and says, Don't be so distressed, furball. With a whoosh of magic, Vernon declares, We have our own matters to attend to. Lusha gets confused. Whoa! They were invisible from other people's. She realizes. It's veil magic. She looks up to him and thinks, Ah, that's right. Vernon was asked to come here, but he head towards a place she knows. She realizes. But this is the way to the princess's palace. She wonders, why would he? Just as they entered the princess' palace, suddenly, they heard someone being slapped. They saw inside the patio where a woman sits at a tea table. Tea spills everywhere as she exclaims, How could you prepare the tea like this? It's so hot that I spilled it. A maid kneels to clean the mess. Lusha realizes the woman is Crown Princess Bianca? She giggles cruelly. You've ruined my precious tea time. Was this how the princess taught you? Her personal maid grabs the maid kneeling, so she coughs. Lusha saw the maid that was kneeling was Marianne, her personal maid. Marianne, eyes wide with fear, is grabbed roughly by the throat. She can barely breathe as the Crown Princess sneers. I guess I'll have to teach you everything myself from scratch. She gets slapped again. The late Empress, Lusha's mother, died from a fever just a month after giving birth to her. Because her father wished to protect her, there was a period in her life when I wasn't allowed to meet anyone. However, a maid opens the curtains, revealing a bright and sunny day. Look outside, Your Highness! The flowers are in bloom. The maid presents a beautiful red dress to the young princess. Would you like to wear the spring dress you received as a gift on your walk? We'll bring your favorite snacks. Another maid says cheerfully. The first people to ever reach out to her during her lonely childhood were the maids of the princess's palace who took care of her. They were her only friends. They were family to her. Back at the percent, she thinks, My precious family. A hand raises to strike Marianne. Vernon exclaims, Goodness. Bianca shows a sinister smile. Lusha thinks, I knew that since I died a criminal, the maids of the princess's palace would be treated poorly. Bianca's personal maid strikes Marianne, sending her flying. She fell outside on the ground. Vernon, holding Lusha, looks shocked as she squirms. Lusha squirms, feeling everything. As the other maid raises her hand to strike again, Lusha is overwhelmed. Suddenly the magic activates, while Lusha calls out, Enough, I said! Everything flashes with a bright, pink light. Vernon is stunned as Lusha transforms back into her divine beast form. Why did she change back already? The Crown Princess is up to no good, cackling and snickering, everything goes sideways. Marianne collapses right there in the garden. Suddenly, with a melody, weather gets dark and a lightning strikes in the garden. The Grand Duke and the Crown Prince inside the room and Phelan standing at a distance also saw that. The Crown Prince agrees, remarks, "Was that lightning on such a sunny day?" As lightning flashes, he continues, "In any case, I do hope you will go along with my offer." He asks, "So, what will it be, Grand Duke Elharan?" Elharan just smiles and thinks to himself, "Goodness! It seems the whole nation will be swept up in this storm." Meanwhile, outside the rain is coming down in sheets. Lusha dashes through the downpour to find the maid, Marianne, collapsed in the garden. The Crown Princess and her maid rushed inside wondering, "What's with the sudden downpour?" Lusha desperately checks up on Marianne. Her body's getting cold. It tugs and pulls at Marianne's clothes. She needs shelter. Quickly! But her cloth rips and Lusha stumbles. Lusha taps on Marianne's cold body and thinks, "I have to hurry and find shelter." Then, a hand reaches down covering Lusha and Marianne with his robe. Lusha glances up wondering, "Who? Phelan? Idelbadour? Why is he here?" Lusha jolts seeing him close. Just then Marianne's body flickers. Phelan is kneeling beside Marianne and the little fox. Sparks fly as Vernon appears, snapping his fingers. He says, "Don't worry." The little fox yips and whimpers as Vernon scoops it up. He says, "I'm sending her to a place where she can get treated." With his magic he teleports Marianne for treatment. As Vernon rubs the fox dry, she murmurs, "Oh, I see. That scared me." Then, turning serious, he asks Phelan, "Anyway, what brings you here, Phelan? Do you have business to attend to at the Imperial Palace?" Phelan replies, "I was summoned by the Crown Prince." Vernon is clearly not buying it. "Shouldn't you be at the main palace then? You've no reason to enter the princess's palace." Phelan simply stares. Vernon continues, "I heard something rather absurd at the magic tower, Phelan. Some humans came to me in your name, wanting to clear the late princess of the alleged false charges against her." Phelan admits, "I did send them, yes." Vernon absolutely loses it, yelling, "What the hell is a divine beast doing? Butting into human affairs and even putting his name on the line. Have you really lost it?" Lusha gets startled by Vernon's outburst. "Geez, he scared me. Are names so important to divine beasts?" Then it hits her. "Wait, did I hear that right? Phelan's a divine beast?" Vernon shouts. "Did that princess owe you money or something? Why are you going this far?" Phelan remains silent. Lusha's mind is racing. He recalls her father saying, "Phelan's insane. They say he's lost his mind." She thinks, "No wonder they referred to him so casually. They must know each other since they're all divine beasts." Phelan is staring right at the little fox, who flinches. "Why is he staring at me? Does he recognize me as Ionel?" Her heart raced. Vernon speaks. "This is my sister. Not that you know. You never visit the forest. You have no interest in our kind at all." Just then a courtier approaches saying, "Sorry to keep you waiting, Sir Phelan." Vernon clicks his tongue annoyed, then says, while activating his magic, "Anyway, I won't cut corners on this investigation. A deal's a deal, after all. While I'm working on it, go fix those loose screws in your head." Saying that he teleports with Lusha. Then the servant comes and says, "Sir Phelan, apologies for keeping you waiting. The Crown Prince will see you now." As he departs he thinks, insanity, huh? I can't say he's wrong. Vernon and Lusha went to Grand Duke's manor in the capital, and it turns out that Vernon sent Marianne there for treatment. They meet with her, and the injured maid says, "I will never forget your kindness, Your Grace." Marianne continues, "My name is Marianne. I am the head maid of the princess's palace, and I was Princess Ionel's nanny." The Grand Duke strokes Lusha's head, then tells Marianne, "I'm sorry for summoning you here when you haven't yet fully recovered. I just had something I wanted to ask you." Marianne falters. "Me? What could you possibly?" The Grand Duke leans in. "They say the culprit behind the late Emperor's death is Princess Ionel. What can you tell me about her?" Later Lusha was eating delicious-looking animal-shaped cookies that are Elharan Manor exclusive handmade cookies. While Elharan and Vernon were in a conversation, Elharan told Vernon, "Marianne, the maid from yesterday, also says the princess was framed." He recalls his conversation with Marianne. Elharan asks her, "They say the culprit behind the late Emperor's death is Princess Ionel. What can you tell me about her? She says, trembling. Her Highness is innocent, Elharan questions. You're taking her side even after she was accused of murdering her own father? Ears welling up, she says. As Her Highness's nanny, I was the one who stood by her side her whole life. She is incapable of harming others, let alone taking a knife to them. On top of that, she's not one to run away from her responsibilities, the nanny insists. She was too kind and friendly for her own good. Her Highness was special beyond compare. Lusha, who was hearing that, felt touched, and tears came to her eyes. She says in her mind, Thank you, Marianne. Elharan continues, It seems the princess took very good care of those around her. Vernon fills in, and seeing how she had such a close relationship with the late emperor. Elharan grabs the cookie from her hand and snaps it in two, asking, Is it too big for you? Vernon drinks tea, looking serious. This case is clearly not as simple as it appears. Lusha is happily munching away on the divine fox cookie. Elharan replies, I thought the same after meeting the crown prince. Lusha perks up hearing that. Vernon asks him, How come? Elharan replies, Well, he had a lot to say yesterday. Peculiar things at that. He told what Agris had said. I lack what it takes to be the emperor. However, I'd feel much better if I had your support, Grand Duke Elharan. Won't you lend me a hand? Elharan scoffs. He actually thinks I'll stand in line beneath him. How arrogant. Both Lusha and Vernon get stunned hearing that. Elharan pats Lusha and says, There is a lot of darkness lurking below the surface. With humans, I could see he had every intention to destroy me if I refused to comply. So I just smiled amicably and left. Vernon fumes. Does that mean we're supposed to just fall in line whenever he breathes now? Elharan, looking scheming, thinks, For generations, House Elharan has been a firmly neutral power. The Crown Prince must have been fully aware of that as well. But in spite of that, he tried to sway me. He's definitely up to something. Then he says, Things have been pretty quiet so far, but I expect it to get rowdy soon. I'll need Syria with me here. She holds up a cookie in the shape of a fox and thinks, Syria, my new mother. Elharan turns to her. Does our little one want to see her mommy too? The little girl beams. Yeah. Then he says, we'll have to summon Kiiyuu as well. Vernon's eyes widen in horror. Why, in God's name, would you bring that wacko here? Elharan sips his tea, unfazed. Why not? It just so happens that he's in the capital now, too. Vernon slams his hands on the table, standing up abruptly. That's completely out of the question. He's the kind of person who would be upset about placing second in a stupidity contest. He can't be around Lusha. He'll corrupt her. What will become of my bright little sister then? Don't you understand that her education is the most important thing right now? She'll catch his stupidity, Lusha thinks. Vernon is so sensitive about this Kiiyuu fellow. I wonder what kind of person he is. Elharan picks her up, saying, Don't be too disappointed, Lusha. She's confused. He continues taking jabs on Vernon. Your brother is so focused on running daddy's errands that he isn't bringing you around to sightsee. He's lived so long that he doesn't consider it important. Lusha gets shocked. Me? Since when? Elharan smiles slyly, saying, I guess there's no helping it. Why don't you and I go together when I have some free time? Who knows? By then, you might even be able to walk already. On our own, all by yourself. Later Vernon takes Lusha sightseeing, he mutters. What a pain. He is carrying Lusha through a market while she enjoys a pink cotton candy shaped like a fox. Lusha is happily munching away, those big eyes sparkling. Vernon grumbles. I fall for it every time, even when I see it coming. There's no question he's a fox, Lusha says. But you're a fox too, Vernon. Is it good? He asks Lusha, who nods enthusiastically. Vernon, surrounded by swirling blue energy and teleport to a roof, he says, I don't want to waste my whole day on that guy, so let's grab him real quick and go home. There are tastier things back at the manor. He uses his magic and spreads it across the capital to find Kiiyuu. According to Lanner, Kiiyuu is currently in the capital guarding foreign nobility visiting the Grand Temple. Located in the Holy Land of the Helencia, situated on the outskirts of the capital. Vernon pinpoints his location on a map of the city. He remembers Lana said they'll find him if they head in that direction. But the location Vernon pinpoints isn't that way. Meanwhile, at the location, someone goes flying, crashing into the ground. Ugh! Men shout. Draw your weapons! Now! A man cries. It's the Hark mercenaries. Why are they here? A figure steps out of the shadows, red hair and a wicked grin on his face. Oh, you know who we are. And yet, you aren't running. He hefts a massive sword over his shoulder. The people in front of him falters. He continues. Well, if you insist on staying, how about a nice little fight to the death? He laughs maniacally. His eyes gleaming, he lunges at the propel in front to attack. Vernon also reached there. Seeing the scene unfolds, he covers Lushia's eyes and says, He doesn't behave anywhere, does he? Vernon sees a mercenary's tag lying on the ground, a symbol that clearly catches his attention. That symbol, one man shouts. What's there to fear? He's just one man. We've got him outnumbered. Get him. Heekin grins like a maniac, then lunges forward. He's taking them down one by one. Meanwhile, Vernon is watching from a rooftop. Why would that pass be in the hands of those people? I need to get a closer look, he says, channeling his magic. He sends a magical whip toward the pass and pulls the pass towards himself. Vernon catches it with his magic. As they were busy fighting, he remarks, Animals, all of them. Lushia peeks from his hand and thinks, He looks like he's experiencing déjà vu. Vernon examines the pass. This isn't a pass that's granted to just anyone. Where have I seen this symbol before? A few moments later, the people lay on the ground. Heekin's subordinate says, Geez, merciless as ever, I see, he report. These are all the abducted children, boss. They saved the children from the kidnappers. Oh, Heekin stretches. I'll leave the cleaning up to you guys. I'm gonna go collect our payment. But then he pauses. He gets the feeling he's being watched. Am I being watched? And sure enough, Vernon is up on a roof, hiding himself with magic. Holding Lusha, he says. He isn't working as a guard anymore, from the looks of it. Seems like he's moved on to eradicating human trafficking groups. He starts to follow the Heekin. Let's follow him, Lushia answers. Duh. Vernon tails him, masking their presence with magic. Heekin gets puzzled. Moments later, Heekin arrives at his destination and breaks open the door. Vernon glances at the surrounding. This place is older and much more obscure than earlier. People usually only come to this sort of location to conduct sketchy business. Then Heekin turns and asks, Who's there? Vernon is caught. I knew I felt something before. It was you, wasn't it? He smirks. Are you an assassin someone sent to relieve my boredom? Vernon sighs. He leaps down and lands a foot at his face, crashing Heekin inside the building. Vernon says, You're lucky I'm not an assassin, Vernon says coldly. Lushia gets startled. Did you forget you were carrying me? Heekin is dazed. What are you doing here? HM? Who's that? He stares Lushia in Vernon's arms. Did you get married and have a kid? Vernon remains cold. Heekin says, Geez, you could just say no. Then Vernon explains it to Heekin. He picks up Lushia, who dangles, and asks, So, you're saying she's my sister? Vernon retorts, No, she's my sister. Give her back, Heekin replies. That means she's my sister too. Something wrong with your brain, vermin? They're having an incomprehensible conversation now, with Lushia caught in the middle. Vernon says, I told you not to call me that, wacko. Now give her back. Heekin refuses. No! Vernon shouts, Hey! Heekin turns and says, You can't keep her all to yourself. Lushia thinks, So my other brother is the leader of the famous undefeated Hark mercenaries. Is it because they're Lanner and Syria's sons? Everyone's so important. Heekin sniffs her. She seems like a silver fox, but her hair color's so fascinating. It's a silvery pink, she thinks. He's too close. She flails. Bawada. Heekin gets shocked. She just looked at me and said, Brother. Vernon says, Enough with your nonsense. Hurry up and come with me. Lanner asked me to come get you. Heekin refuses. I can't go yet. I have to collect our payment from my client first. Vernon asks, When will he be here? Heekin replies, Soon, probably. We agreed to meet today. Night falls. Heekin is playing with the doll. You're so squishy, Lushia protests. Abwaba. Vernon is irritated. He runs to and tries to grab Lushia. Stop it. Give her to me. Heekin refuses. Nope. I'm having fun squishing her cheeks. Vernon is reaching his limit. Shut up, and just then, someone approaches. He stops, seeing Vernon and Heekin quarrel. Someone in a hooded cloak stands hesitantly in the doorway. Lushia thinks, I can only imagine his confusion. Vernon releases Lusha so Vernon quickly pulls her away. Heekin greets the figure. Good evening, High Priest. Lusha gets shocked. That's the High Priest? She thinks. I saw him occasionally back when I was a princess. He was always present at major events such as the ancestral rites for divine beasts. Why would someone like him hire a mercenary? The High Priest speaks. I thought I told you to come alone. Why did you bring along a baby and a nanny? Vernon gets irritated. Nanny? Did that human just call me a nanny? Heekin laughs. This one's a new recruit. I brought the baby along because she's cute. Besides, you wanted evidence of the rescued children, didn't you? The High Priest stares at them. Vernon stares back, his eyes glowing. He notices his rosary. That's